Hey, y'all. Welcome to your show.
Don't be a victim.
I'm Lee Turner Jr. of Tango Firearms Training.
And I'm Buddy Myers of Tall Guns.
Welcome back to another week. I believe it's a cold week on both sides of the fence here.
Yeah,
We're even getting a little
23
cold spell
degrees
down
here
here.
this morning. Wonderful,
We've been
colorful
in the
Colorado.
40s.
It's a
Big
little
getting.
chilly. And if,
Yeah.
and if you're up in Boston, you got a Colorado snowstorm. I understand you all got
Woo.
like 30 inches. It's like, holy mackerel. Of course, we're going to have our own snow, but it's only going to be 8 inches on Wednesday.
Yeah, I bet those residents won't be hitting no gun shows.
no, no. You know, they won't be going to the Super Bowl either.
No, no. OP. I can't believe you said that.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody in Boston right now, you dirty dog.
Well, you know, there and you know, and we heard that, TB may be retiring, but I hope to God none. I still think he's the GOAT. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't like him very much when he was at the I didn't really not like Tom Brady. I really did not like the New England Patriots. I'll be honest with you. I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm also a Rob Gronkowski fan. That guy to me, there ain't no better guy for fun or playing football than Tom Brady. He's just, I mean, he's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
But
There's just no
we
way
hired a
around
new
it.
coach out here. Once again, we didn't hire a head coach. We hired a retread. But maybe he'll bring this other quarterback with him from a place called Green Bay.
Yep. And speaking of goats, that could bring us to what we decided we're going to talk about today, especially with the gun shows coming out.
Oh,
And
about your
all
personal habits.
these-
I'm sorry.
Not that.
Dun-dun.
Not my personal habits. But what's going to be coming out on the market? I know you guys, you remember that SHOT Show, right?
Oh yeah, I'm a member of the National Shooting Sports Foundations. I go to the SHOT Show normally every few years. I used to go every year, but there's only so many changes that you can do to how a gas impedant tube works in an AR to make it work correctly, and it kind of got a little, to be honest, and this is going to sound weird, boring, for those of us in the industry. I mean, it's a heck of a show. I mean, you learn things. It's for the industry because you see early introduction of the firearms, stuff that's going on, what's coming, what's new, somebody's new idea. It's where they make the big splash. You see all the TV outdoor channels, Sportsman's Guide, Sportsman's Channel guys out there. I'm out there supporting my buddy Michael Bain from the Outdoor Channel a few times with his production team out there. But, because of what I do here as a business, I see a lot of this stuff early on. I'm under non-disclosure with like 4 firearms firms, but yeah, it's where you see stuff when the new things are coming. It's like it's the biggest, greatest trade show for the firearms industry that's out there. It's not the only one in the country. There's also one that we call the Ammunition Show, which occurs in a couple of locations here every year, and where you can go down and see innovations in bullets. Believe it or not, there are innovations in ballistic science, and make those big orders. And when I say make big orders, we're talking, you make acquisitions of, $1 million to fund your range, fund your retail store. So, yeah, I know the place, Lee.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to do this show was because of the eye candy that's going to be out there. Don't let it draw you in. Just because it looks good, because it has a nice little price tag on it, don't mean it's going to be held up to a standard of some of the previous models that we know can stand up to the test of time and what we're wanting them for target shooting, maybe for competitions, or for CCs for self-defense. So
Yeah,
be
or
very wary.
even just the collectible side of it. I mean,
Yep.
really, I mean that's something to think about here. Is that when you're buying a firearm, and I don't care if it's a handgun or a long gun, and we're going to cover both today. That it just because it looks cool doesn't mean it is cool. And it's just because it's made by somebody you might not know doesn't mean it isn't an extremely good firearm, because there's an awful lot of companies out there that we in the United States here never heard of that make extremely good firearms or make them for another company under a different label. It's like a lot of people, I'll say to them, well, you know Uberti, and they go, Uberti? And I said, yeah, they're actually, Uberti's owned by Beretta, who owns just about all the top-end quality gun manufacturers in the world. They're Italian gun makers, and I'll tell you what, you don't find much better gun makers for hand-fitting and stuff than your Italians. But Uberti makes all of the classic Old West American guns, long guns, rifles, shotguns, handguns, and, and they're bringing back the old stuff. I mean, you would have had to spend $4,000 to get an 1875 Colt Outlaw. You can get it right now for about $650 retail from somebody selling Uberti products.
And, the one thing I've noticed with the new firearms coming out, small. Now, you got to think, when you start buying small, they're going to have small grips. They're small. Yeah, they're easy concealable, but they're hell to hang on to, especially the caliber that you're buying. You start getting into the 45 and the 9mm with these very small framed semi-automatics. They might discourage you when you go out there and start target shooting with them.
They do make a good carry gun if you're going to carry it, in a let's call it the appendix carry. But understand, if you're going to target shoot it a lot, it's not going to work real well. Case in point, okay, and this is a gun that's been around for a while, Springfield XDS 45 ACP, and you all know that I'm a big 45 ACP shooter. But that single stack 5-shot gun, some people can't control it. Personally, I don't like it. I mean, it would be a concealed carry gun, but if I'm going to go that small, hell, I'll drop down to a 9mm cartridge. It's just because it's big. Oh, yeah, that's a big round. That's got tons of stopping power. But if you can't hit the damn target, it doesn't mean a damn thing to you.
That's right. And it all goes back to purpose. What is your purpose of buying this firearm? Down here, I shoot on the shooting team. I'm rolling with the SIG M17. It's not a concealed carry gun. This is a big gun. You ain't going to want to stick it in the front of your pants or on your hip. I mean, open carry down here is legal. But it can become, especially when you stack the mag out, because, best thing I ever seen was when Buddy once we instructed some classes, and he grabbed the handgun and he stuck a box of rounds on top of it. Now you're going to have an idea of what you're carrying right there.
Yeah, it gives you a better idea. And some of these guns, I'll tell you what, there's some beautiful guns that are coming out. One, I'll tell you what, who's been impressing me of late is Auto Ordnance. Auto Ordnance has got a 1911 case hardened with a U.S. logo on their in their grips. But, this is what we might call a tabletop gun or a coffee table gun. The case hardening, for those of you who don't know what case hardening is, that's when they used to make guns, they would take and heat them up, and then you'd encase them like in bone, and the calcium and the chemicals and the minerals in the bone would come out into the metal as it cooled. And you'd get this beautiful kind of a different color. I call it, some people call it tiger striping, but it's a case hardening. You'll see it sometimes in Old West guns. And, and that's a cosmetic feature that makes them, look very, very nicely, look very, very good. There's it's shotguns. I'll tell you what, folks, I am in love with shotguns. I don't care if they're side-by-sides, over and unders, pump shotguns, but the over and the unders and the side-by-side, the engraving work on those are just phenomenal. They are pieces of art. Yes, granted, I know you can get handguns done the same way, but they really are just, pieces of art. And CZ, I will tell you, CZ right now, one of the guns I'm seeing sell like crazy is this shark tail that they've got out there, over and under. A lot of people buying them. They look really nice. You know, Franke, who again is one of those other companies owned by Beretta, they've had a lot of beautiful guns that have been going through of late. You've got, you know, as a result of the acquisition of Remington and different portions of Remington's firearms manufacturing, I would tell you, if you want to watch for some really pretty guns and highly efficient guns, especially if you're a lever guns being our Old West style guns, you watch for what's going to come out of Ruger under the Marlin label. It's going to blow you away. Blow you away. That's the best I can tell you. It's going to blow you away.
What we want to try to warn you about is, you know, when you go out and buy these, don't think this is maybe be your only handgun, or it's going to be, because it may not work out for what you want it to work out. And there was one that caught my eye, and they're going to look really good to you, especially with the price tag that's coming out on them. One was the American Tactical. Now they're coming out with this one called the FXH 45. Now it's got custom finger grooves built into the grip. It does got the grip safety on it. It's looking pretty good. It's got a little, looks to be about 1.5 inch rail on the bottom where you could mount a little mag light or maybe a laser light on it. But again, and the SRP on this thing's only $459. So right there's going to catch your eye. You're like, wow, that's a really some eye candy I'm looking at, especially with the price tag going to be eye candy.
But it's an American Tactical.
Uh-huh.
It's an American Tactical. I mean, that's the thing.
Yes.
The American Tactical, they make. I have to admit, I have built some AR pistols on their platform. They build a very good AR platform, but this is kind of one of their early soirees. I mean, they in 2021 they released their FX9, but they're essentially, if you look at them, there's somebody else's gun over the course of time where the patents run out. I mean, if you're looking to buy firearms, just not something that you're going to use long term, or you're not worried about, I'm okay with buying a Yugo versus a Chevy, or I'll buy a Chevy or a Ford instead of a Maserati or whatever it may be. You know, that helps drive your budget too. But you can find some extremely good firearms at all kinds of various prices from various manufacturers. And tell you what, we're going to go to a break, folks, and we're going to come right back because we burned up 12, almost 13 minutes of your time, and we're supposed to go 8. All right, we're back from break. And as I was saying, a lot of good manufacturers. I mean, you got guys like Canik, you got guys like, you have Beretta still out there making great guns. Springfield Armory, they've got a gun out there. If any of you are fans of John Browning's high power, his 9mm, that was the predecessor that he had made for the militaries over in Europe. The SA-35 from Springfield Armory is a highly improved, not just a replica, but highly enhanced version of that gun. I mean, highly enhanced. It's an excellent gun.
Yeah.
Excellent gun.
They got a new one coming out. I think it's the XDS Mod 2.
Well, yeah, they all cook up all these different mods. It's like Glock. Yeah. I got a Gen 1, 2, 3, 4, or a 5. Yeah. It's like, okay, what are you genning?
But you don't want to mistake it, say, oh, man, that's an XDS. Can it hold up to the original XDS performance?
Or your holster.
That's the things you want to think about.
Yeah, if you're dealing with handguns. I mean, but again, it applies to all guns. And that's why what we're trying to talk about today is you got to look at all the guns across a broad spectrum of what it is you want to buy. It's like, yeah, you can get an FN, 509 or a 509C, relatively good price. But do you really need to spend that money for what you're going to do? Or, the Old West stuff. Yeah, maybe you want to collect them. Maybe you want to go shoot them. Take a look at what it is you're buying. Are they going to hold their value? If you're going to go out and shoot it, and you're going to use it in, let's say, cowboy action shooting, that how's it going to hold up to the diverse environment, that let alone the competition's requirements for the gun to work? I mean, Mossberg, they make great shotguns. They've made some decent rifles, because a lot of people don't know them as a rifle company. but they've come out with some handguns lately. But I would tell you, when it comes to Mossberg, I would wait to see how their guns set, how they do in the marketplace, because this is a new soiree for them. It's kind of like when Toyota decided we're going to build a full-size pickup truck. I didn't want to own the first one, let alone I'm kind of a Ford guy anyway for trucks. And it was like, no, don't buy the first one out of the box, because it may not be that great of a situation. Of course, then you got Ruger. I mean, they make fantastic handguns, revolvers, pistols. The lever gun thing, they never had a lever gun, and that's why this Marlin acquisition is just, I have seen what's coming, and you're going to get your socks knocked off. It's awesome what they got coming. You know, and they make great shotguns. You know, the red label you couldn't beat. And Smith & Wesson. But I'll tell you what, Smith & Wesson ain't what it used to be, guys. And it's not the same Smith & Wesson that we may have thought of years ago. You know, it's just like Colt. Colt's not the same Colt that we knew 20, 30 years ago. They've gone through a couple of different bankruptcies. It's upset their apple cart. Now their new, you know, the snake guns are back, the Anaconda, the Python. You know, they have done some significant improvements. I've handled both of those guns, old ones and the new ones here lately. And yeah, they've done a nice job. They've done a nice job with them. But, you know, you just got to find what am I going to use it for? How am I going to shoot it? Is it worth that type of money to me? You got to make that decision.
Yeah. What is going to be your purpose for it? Because like when you go back to the Mossberg, they came out with that MC2. Now this year they're coming out with the MC2 SC. Now that little thing, that's not going to be something you're going to want to go out and routinely shoot and try to target practice with. There's going to be heck to hang on to it, especially chambered in the 9mm.
Well,
trying to get it. You know, I mean, it's a pocket gun.
Well, and that's it. And you got to think about it. It's not the gun I'm going to go to the range and shoot every day. That's going to be a gun that you're going to draw and maybe shoot 2 or 3 times. It's not the gun you want to stand there and shoot all day long. You know, it really isn't. I mean, that's the way to think about it. Don't buy it thinking it's going to be the only gun that you ever buy that you're going to ever shoot, because you can't shoot that thing and practice with it, you know, that often without it maybe kicking the living daylights out of you. You know, it's just like, you know, if you're looking for a hunting rifle, you know, if I'm going hunting, am I hunting in moist conditions? Am I hunting in dry conditions? Do I want to go with a synthetic stock versus a wood stock? Well, knowing a wood stock, while they are absolutely beautiful, is it going to get beat up? Is it going to get nicked up? Is the wood going to swell for moisture? And if you're down there in places like the Carolinas and Alabama and Mississippi and you got high humidity, yeah, when you first get that gun, you might want to kind of take that wood off of there and use a little bit of Johnson's paste wax. And on the inside portions of it where you've got that raw wood that you don't see from the outside, put that paste wax on to protect it against the moisture in the outside of it and to protect and preserve the gun. It just requires some extra maintenance, but it kind of gets back to, what am I going to use it for? You know, how am I going to use it? You know, what's the right choice?
That was a great point you made, because when I relocated down here to Alabama, I had a Ruger 1022, but with the wood stock. Well, I bought the Hogue synthetic stock and switched out the wood because of the humidity and the environment down here, because I knew that the type of what I'd be dealing with the wood.
And if you're going to use it on the water a lot, whether, let's say it's the shotgun. You know, if it's a shotgun you're going to use occasionally, yeah, after you've used it, could be a blued shotgun. Make sure you properly wipe it down with silicone after you're done, silicone rod and reel cloth to protect the outside from moisture. But if you're going to have it on your boat and things, you might consider a stainless steel, what's called the marine finish, to protect it against that potential rust as you're making those acquisitions. And there's a lot of those that are coming out to make that decision. The same thing if you're going to shoot long distance, boys and girls.
Mhm.
and you want to be a long range shooter, and whether it's you're going to get a Savage 110 or you're going to buy the Ruger PDR and its upgrade versions, before you buy the gun, because it's, oh yeah, that's the one I got to have, you got to make sure you buy it with the right ballistic. You may not want to buy it with a 243 Winchester. Do your research on your 6.5 Creedmoor cartridge or 338 Lapua to see how it works. And then buy a gun. It might be pricey off the shelf. It's got an optic that comes with it, but that will save you aftermarket money that you're going to have to spend to upgrade it anyway. And you got to think about it this way too. If you've never bought a hunting rifle before, if you buy one, you normally will spend as much money on the glass, the scope, as you will the gun if you're getting the proper type of glass. That's a given.
That's true. Yeah.
So I buy $1,000 rifle, I'm buying $1,000 sight.
Yeah, because you buy a cheap scope. Whoa, man, that thing's only $49.95. That's about what you're going to see is $49.95.
Yeah, basically, what you want to do there is take a. If you want to get an idea what's going to happen with it, get yourself a cardboard tube like for paper towels. Put a piece of saran wrap at one end, at the other end, and then put some vegetable oil on either end. That's what it'll look like it for $49.95. That's how clear it'll be.
Now, I know that also with you, buddy, I know you're a big fan of the SCCYs, and they got a new one coming out with the DBG1.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Sky is an interesting company. Now, their Generation 1, they got some really bad rap on their first-gen ones because they did some weird stuff. But, we're going to go back now 10, 12 years in history. But Mr. Holt came in from Glock, retooled that entire business. They've got state-of-the-art measuring equipment. Everything in that firearm is made in the United States, and every single component, the raw materials are sourced from the United States. So you are buying an American-made, American-sourced, American product gun, first of all, made in Daytona Beach, Florida. And they warrant that gun for the life of the gun, not the life of the owner that owns the gun. Well, I have shot a lot of those. I've sold a lot of those in their different variations. And for the money, you cannot get a better self-defense firearm.
That's what I was going to say. I think it would be a great CC, especially with the new one coming out. And I don't know if you'd read the statistics on it yet or not, but it has a flat 5.5 pound trigger pull.
Yeah, they've done a lot on the trigger.
That's nice.
Yeah, you get a nice, smooth, consistent trigger.
Yes. So now you're looking at a smooth, especially if you're in a CC situation, because you got to think, people, your nerves are going to be going. Your tailpipe's going to be puckered, and
even if you're just shooting, practicing, that consistency of the trigger press is going to make a big difference. You're going to have success. You're going to have different success. Really impressed with that. Yeah, that's an impressive thing with their firearm. It's completely different, improves the performance tremendously. But it's something for you to kind of think about. Just, shop around. Don't buy the first thing you see. Don't buy the first thing the person tells you. And, you've heard me say before, I don't like buying the first generation of anything out of the factory. I do not want to be the pioneer in the wagon trying to fix all their problems. Because it happens. There's recalls, there's things that break, there's, different things that people don't expect to happen, because once you get it in the hands of human beings, stuff happens. Well, hold on, folks. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back for a short closeout section here in a second. All right, we're back. We're at 24 minutes on our show. We're running a little over on the segments today because we're talking about one of our favorite subjects, firearms, new firearms. And just, about buying habits and what's new coming into the marketplace and, what's out there. But the key thing is tried and true and proven sometimes works really well. And, do your shopping around, go out and try and check out different stuff. And, and understand that just because a gun looks like something doesn't mean it is a something. And my point with that is EAA has a gun called the Regard MC. It looks like a Beretta 92 FS, but it ain't. It ain't. I will tell you, it ain't. It's just like Shadow Systems. They've got some really nice firearms. They're MC, they're SC, they're XC. They're built on a Glock-style platform, but they ain't a Glock. I'll be honest with you. They're a little different, and even the trigger pull's different on those 3 guns that I've tried. So you want to try them out. Just because it looks like something doesn't mean it's the same thing. They can be completely different on the inside, how they're built, what the flanging may be inside that's left, and you just gotta really look at it. Read some stuff that's out there about it. See if you can get the aftermarket parts. See if you can get a holster for it if you're going to use it for concealed carry. See if you can get a sling for it if it's going to be your hunting rifle. Make sure you can get a long enough case to fit the barrel if you're going to get it. You got to do a little research on your aftermarket products that go with the gun, the complementary things that you're going to need, and let alone the ammunition available. Don't get some oddball caliber that, you're going to end up having to hand load it, or you got to buy it from, Sierra King up in, from their factory, and it's a custom load that comes out of there from Steve Hornady and his team out at Hornady in Grand Island. That you're going to have to get a custom load. Do your due diligence, because it could cost you down the road over time, because you go, oh damn, I thought it was a this and it was a that.
That's what I'm glad you brought that up, because the last one I'm going to talk about real quick is the new Smith & Wesson. Now the MP Shield, they've been writing on them 2.0 names for a while, and now they got one coming out, the MP Shield 2.0 in a 10 millimeter. And this is just my preference, but if I'm going to go 9 millimeter versus 10 millimeter, I'm going 9 all day long. Because like Buddy said, availability of ammunition. Yeah, 9s were hard to get your hands on for a while, but that's because of the scare. But
10s were a real bugger, and 10s are pricey. You'll see right now, you get Smith & Wesson's doing a 10. You've got our friends at Glock have got a 10. Springfield Armory's XD has a 10. They're all doing 10s because Colt re-announced the Delta Elite. And the Delta Elite was a 1911 chambered in 10 millimeter. But
I don't think I'd run out and drop $650 down on that new Smith & Wesson 10 millimeter. Let it be out there for a while. See if the ammunition is going to be around for it.
It never has been. It's a difficult, pricey ammunition. It's like 40 Smith & Wesson. I mean, it's interesting, but why reinvent the wheel when you've got the 9, you've got the 45, you've got the 38 special, you have a lot of ammunition that would work. Just to say I got a 10 millimeter because I want to be like, Sonny Tubbs in, Miami Vice years ago, because that's what he carried was a 10 millimeter Denarius and Dixon, which there's only 1,500 of them ever made, and I worked and fixed 4 of them. That it's a 10 millimeter 45 ACP, but it's like, so what? I mean, 10 millimeters very pricey, very, very pricey. Unless you're planning on reloading yourself, I wouldn't spend the money on it.
Just a quick piece of advice: if you're out at these gun shows coming up, and you got to choose between a Shield 2.09 versus the 10, you might want to go with that 9 just to see where that 10 is going to go. Because again, walk around the gun show, see how many 10 millimeters you can find versus how much 9 millimeters is going to be out there. And to me, the 9 will shoot, I think, a lot more accurate.
And I'll tell you what, folks, I am not a fan of these rear red dot sights I see everybody getting. I got me a red dot sight and it's co-witnessed and I can do this and I can see. Well, it takes a little bit used to shooting with a red dot sight. Yep. If you're worried about your aiming because you're aging and your eyes don't work and you can't focus, do yourself a favor. Crimson Trace laser grip mounts in the grip. It is easy to activate. You shoot at the red dot. Trying to co-witness and do all this stuff with these rear sights are interesting. If you're going to compete, That's cool. Self-defense takes longer for target acquisition. You got to bring it all the way up to your face. You're not going to shoot from the hip where you can with the others, or flat on your back, or in low light conditions. You're going to have to bring that thing up to where you can see it through your eyeballs. That means delayed time if you're shooting for self-defense. You know, if you got a hog gun with it on the top of it, a AR and 450 Beowulf, by God, you're going to drop that hog out there in the back country with that, that co-witnessed red dot sight. It'll work fine. Yep. But know what they're for. I mean, that's the whole big thing. Everybody's putting these stupid halo sights on the back of their guns. And, that's what we used to call them, halo sights, from EOTech and from others. Don't waste your money, because you got to bring it all the way up to your eyes to shoot it. If you're going to use it for a self-defense firearm, you got to be able to shoot it from all kinds of positions under all kinds of conditions.
Especially in the Romeos, because now you got to find it. And somebody's shooting at you while you're trying to find it. That's not such a good idea. Target practice, when you're just out plinking or you're out maybe shooting some competition, you have the time to look for it. That might be the way to go with it. Again, what is your purpose for it? I wouldn't carry one on my CC, but to target practice, yeah.
And CC, I think he's saying concealed carry for any of you that are having problems with the acronyms.
Yes, sir. Concealed carry.
But yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't waste my money.
No.
Wouldn't waste my money because, one, it takes you longer to acquire the target. I've watched some people with them, experienced shooters, and there's a little bit of a delay. And it's like, if you were in combat situations on top of your ACOG from Trigicon, you learned it, but you're also there with your brothers and sisters to cover your collective wazoos, not screwing around trying to red dot it up and get all these, these things on it. Just if you have a laser on your handguns. That's all I'll tell you.
Yeah.
All I'll tell you. That's what I would do. Well,
I'm with Buddy.
It's that time, Lee. Right. We were going to make this a short, easy show with 8-minute segments, and we blew that all to hell. We're at 32 minutes and 17 seconds. So, Lee, if you would please take us to closing.
All right, people, as always, watch your six, watch your family six, and watch your friend six. And as long as you have our Lord and Savior in your life, 6 feet ain't so far down.
And as I always tell you, remember, freedom is not won on the battlefield, but in the classroom and in the home. And I heard a quote the other day that I'm going to convey, that the rights of the individual will be protected and preserved as long as they're in alignment with the needs of the state. And with that, folks, have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you next week.